I really didn't like this when someone said it to me initially, and I was like, what? I don't understand. Why would you not want to say that? That, we're a family.
Yes.
And now I understand. I'm like, yeah, we can't say that in the office. It's just not the right thing to say. We're not a family. The family dynamics do not work in the office. You do not have a work mum and a work dad. If you do, we have a problem. I think communicating about well-being is the biggest win that we could honestly go with. Like I said, all the different generations, the fact that things are changing, there's becoming more remote hybrid workplace, change is coming. So the fact that we're talking about it is a win.
Welcome back to the Wellbeing Leaders Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things leadership and well-being. We're your hosts. I'm Charlotte Stebbing-Mills.
And I am Sam Harvey. And today we are joined by the wonderful Hannah Wells, who's rocking an amazing denim jacket today, which I am super excited about. Hannah is an Associate Business Director of Community Engagement and Engagement in the media industry. She's a business graduate, is also a qualified yoga, I shouldn't say yogi, 200 hours, and sound healer. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is the first podcast I've done for a really long time. So feeling a bit rusty. It's nice to shake off the cobwebs.
Wow.
So,
Did you do
some
activation before you got on here, or,
Yeah, should do some breathing work. Yeah, beforehand, just to fully warm up.
What I love, Hannah, about you is the fact that you've got experience both in this professional corporate wellbeing kind of space and scope, but you've also got the other end of the spectrum for what a lot of our listeners might still even believe is a bit wooey when we talk about sound healing or even yoga for some. Mm-hmm. And it's this, what I like about you is you're this amazing hybrid that understands it all. And I think super valuable in this space. So I'd love to kick off with understanding, how did you get into this space in the first place?
Amazing. Okay, cool. So, yes, I am a yogi. So you've got that spiritual well-being, but the physical stuff is really important. So I have a huge passion for all of that. But I'm going to go, I guess, all the way back to the beginning. So as a kid, I grew up, we were always super sporty. I was very privileged to try so many different things. And basically, I went to boarding school, which I was very lucky to be able to do. I'm very grateful for that. And again, exposed to so many different aspects, so many different, people with different upbringings and different passions, and really exploring a lot more of an opportunity, because I grew up in Dubai and there wasn't so much here at that time. And so when I went away, I was able to experience a lot more. And then, of course, naturally, the next thing is to then go into university, which I dropped out of. It wasn't for me. I thought the world was over. And I was like, oh, my gosh, what am I going to do? And I came back to Dubai to then really kind of find my feet. And I went through events. I went into the airline industry. I was working in health and safety, and I was just gathering all of these experiences, I guess. But through it all, have always been really passionate about some form of fitness on the side. So whether that was tennis, or whether that was playing hockey at school, or whether it was, I then got introduced to weight training. And then it was my mum actually who introduced me to yoga. I went to a yoga retreat in Abu Dhabi. And I was like, I'm going to go to the gym. And she said, no, you're going to come and join this yoga class with me. And I was like, yoga, schmoga, whatever. And I went, and we did headstands. We were practicing headstands on the beach. And that was it. I was like, this is something I cannot do. I will now do yoga so that I can do a headstand. And that's, I guess, and also a reason why my headspace is like that. I'm like, I love the journey of getting somewhere. I love a goal to work towards. And yeah, so I think with that, I then really started to look at well-being as a whole. And through the careers, squiggly line that I've been going through, have managed to get lots of different things and really understand, okay, the culture in work, how we are on a very scary landscape, i.e. underneath an aeroplane, that culture and how we are with each other on the ground is super important to be able to make sure that we're safe, like physically safe, versus then actually then coming into the yoga space where it's all about your spirituality and that well-being and looking after that side. And so then when you're really focusing on like your physical, which obviously is the thing that's spoken about so often, coming into the culture of an organization and how that works and how we bring all of these people from different nationalities, ages, genders, all of that together, how does that work and how can we still make it thrive? And so, yeah, where you're saying I love to see both sides, it's a huge passion point for me. It helps well-being as a whole, looking after myself is something that I'm really passionate about. It excites me. I like to go for goals and shoot for new things. And then I love to, see how I can then bring that into a really corporate place, which is actually a little bit more difficult than I guess we'd like it to be.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's I mean, and that's the thing, right? Businesses are like a fingerprint. They have their own fingerprint, don't they? So actually approaching it in each instance is going to be different, isn't it? And so bringing that kind of broad expertise, and I think for that reason, the squiggly career is actually really useful.
Very.
You kind of come in and go, well, I've got all of this stuff. Hey, yeah, I was a scuba instructor in the Caribbean. That'll be useful here. Like, what? Super random. So then I guess my kind of thought as you were talking there was, well, how do you approach the organization then? Because if it is this fingerprint, what's the kind of thing that you're doing initially to go, okay, what do I need to do?
I guess the first thing I'm going to say is, and this is where Charlotte's heard this word before, is that you approach it with compassion. I think, I hadn't got any experience within the media industry. And before that, the airline industry, I knew about it, but I didn't know it. And same before that, I had a passion for events because I'm an organized freak. But had I done it? No. And I think there's an aspect of it now as I'm older that I'm like, oh, I want to go into it to seek to understand and be curious rather than I know better. And I'm here to forget whatever you've been doing before, but how can I make this better and just seek to understand? And I guess that's what I bring to the table is that approach.
I really like that. And it's really interesting that you've mentioned aviation, media, and events, because those are all high pressure industries. And I know there are a lot of high pressure industries, but they sort of take their own toll. And to then be essentially leading community and engagement within media right now, like I'd love to understand, like, what's the shape of what you're seeing happening? And I know you like a goal, so what are you working towards perhaps at the moment?
So my goal is to foster a sense of belonging within our workplace and ultimately to be like the best place to work. That's what my goal is. And along the way, my values, my personal values, and my team know this, is I want to make things fun, magical, and memorable, because you spend most of your time at work. So if you're not having fun and it's not magical and you're not leaving it feeling like you made some epic memories because this is part of your life, then what are you doing? That hits hard, really. But
what are you even doing?
But I think I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm looking at ways that I can improve people's well-being in this space. I'm looking at their purpose. So how can we add purpose into the workspace? And then there's like all of the other things that really matter. So the culture, how we do things day to day, like, culture means how we do things. So how is it that we do things? And is that something that's a good thing, or should we be changing that? And of course, change takes time. Unfortunately, if only we could just flick a switch and that would be that. But I think that's basically, so my goal is to get it to be the most desired place to work, where people really want to work with us.
I love that. And you mentioned a key word for me there, and I'd love to kind of just to stick on it for a moment, if that's all right, is purpose, right? And so, we wanted to talk to you about building these programs which have impact, right? Like, how do we actually have an impact in organizations? And I think that for me is a key component of it. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you talk about the generations, we've got 5 different generations now in the workspace, which is really frightening, but also so exciting at the same time. And the boomers, they think of things really differently. They're here to stay for a long time, to work, and that's cool. And there's lots of value in that. And then obviously the Gen Zs that are coming in now, they're kind of looking for more of that purpose. That's something that the culture feels good, and it gives them the flexibility that they need. So bringing that all together, it's maybe even more complicated than it ever has been before. So everyone's purpose is also potentially super different. And that's the challenge, is how do you then cater to all of those different needs? And I'm going to be honest, like, I don't think anybody's got it right yet. I don't think that anybody's doing it super well. I think there's lots of inspiring work out there, and I think we're going in the right direction, and it's really, really exciting. But I'm still yet to be like, oh, I want to go and work for that company because they've got it. And that's where I'm like, yeah, but we can get there first. Why can't we do that? That can be our goal. And that's me, headspace. I'm like, there's the finish line. We're going. But it's about the journey for me. I know that is the goal, but it's the journey that you're learning, your character building, yourself, you're meeting all the different people. Like, it's all like that squiggly line, career line that we were talking about. Like, that is the reason why I am now where I am. I wouldn't be here without the journey. So yeah.
And that's something that's like a really like wise thing, isn't it? To enjoy the journey, really embrace the journey and what that looks like. And often what we find in like the corporate world is that it's we're going to a destination and that's it. We don't really care how we're going to get there, which is kind of part of the problem. So I'd really love to know, on your journey so far, perhaps in your current company or wherever you've been is fine. How do you, like, what have you done that perhaps did not go so well? I'd like to maybe share a spotlight on that talks to that point that everybody's so unique with different purposes. Because I mean, I've never heard a boomer say they're looking for, magical, memorable place to work, right? I've never heard a boomer say that. Maybe they're out there, but I've never heard it.
That's a really good point.
We should try and find that boomer.
If any boomers out there would like to come and find them, fun, magical,
please come forwards.
Please step up.
So Hannah, on your journey, like, what have you tried, but perhaps it didn't go as well as what you had planned to try and bridge that gap between these generations or between the goals that you set for?
I mean, I can talk about my personal stuff and then talking about within the workspace as well. So, like, from me, I failed right from the get-go. So I went to university to go and study hospitality, and then I dropped out a term in. I was like, this is not for me. And, at 18, you're expected to know exactly what you want to do. And I just didn't. And I knew that I really could help people. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And that's why I was like, hospitality. But yeah, it just wasn't for me. And then I came out here and tried to find my feet. And that also wasn't super straightforward. So I guess, and someone's mentioned this to me before about this idea of I'm okay to fail, because I had that learning early on of, okay, well, you failed, now you got to get back up. And I have this mindset with the team is we can do an event, that's for our people, and we probably could have done 3 things better, and that shouldn't have happened, and X, Y, and Z. But there's no point in focusing in on that. It's done now. You've got to then adapt, you move forward, and you do it better the next time. So that trial and error mindset is probably something that I really live by. And that's, I don't sweat the small stuff, in the sense that, okay, we should have served this instead of that. And actually we should have moved it to this date instead. It happened. Okay, next time we know we're not going to do it on a Tuesday evening. We'll make sure we do it on a Thursday, or whatever it might be. So from my personal mindset, that's also then coming to my work mindset of, there's been probably a few things that we've maybe not got right. Like, we've launched stuff where obviously in this region, it can be really not the right time because of what's happening from the geopolitical standset, that I'm like, oh, in hindsight, we probably should have just completely delayed it. But we went with an event, an initiative that we thought was really good. And then it just kind of backfired a little bit, and those are the things that happen. And I'm okay with that, because that's how you learn. I think failing is a whole part of the journey. So
nice.
I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, if you're not failing, you're not learning. Right?
I think failure is such a scary thing as well, like it's like being rejected from something. And again, I guess this is a yogi mindset. This is where this comes in, is I really believe that if something's not meant to be, it won't be. What's meant for you won't pass you by. And and this has taken a long time to get to this mindset, but a younger Hannah, if I really had my mindset on a job that I really wanted and I didn't get through to the last round of the interviews, absolute devastation, end of the world. Like the fact that I dropped out of university, that was the end of the world. Oh my goodness. And I have a younger brother, so I was setting an example, and that really then put fear into him. That's really, really scary. Failure is scary. And now I'm like, oh, it just wasn't meant to be. There's something better coming. And that's not easy as a mindset to bring into a corporate world.
Yeah.
And how does that happen? I am not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure that I'm so set on my mindset and who I am as a person and what I bring to the table that I'll always spin it in a way that I see the positive from it. And I don't know if that works on my downfall, because not everybody can see that. And some people might get frustrated with that. I haven't come across it yet. But that is the way that my mindset is. And that's, I guess, also from doing 200 hours of yogi training too, to be like, I don't got time for that. It's, I believe that I've got faith that something better is coming.
That notion of failing forward and failing fast, I think, is really, really powerful. But I think to then translate that and to communicate that up the chain, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's okay. Have faith. It'll be better next time.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Yeah. They don't want to hear that. What are you talking about?
No,
this is our business.
Exactly.
We're trying to do. So and Sam, maybe there's some insights from you here. If anybody that's listening to this is perhaps experiencing that disconnect, right? Because it can be when you're so well identified and you know who you are and you have strong values and you've got great self-awareness, and perhaps you're surrounded by people who are not, that can be a really tricky path to walk. So I'd love to hear some insights around that and navigating that.
I mean, for me, I would say it's how you then broach it, right? I would say, here's the challenges. Here's the next steps. This is what we do differently next time. So I'm not going to present it in a way to be like, hey, look, this is the fun, magical, memorable way. Not sure that's going to go down so well.
He failed. It's magic.
It's magic. Look, it just disappeared.
See that money gone.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it's the way that's probably the more corporate, and again, that's bringing the yogic mindset into a corporate world. How does that happen? And again, it goes back to the squiggly line that I've gone through and that journey of learning, and all the different people that I've worked with, and all of the different leadership styles and the different nationalities, all of that gives me that knowledge and that experience to be able to say, okay, now I know that I can move forward with this. And it's, I guess, being able to and willing to adapt quickly, because some people then are like, no, we're still doing it this way, and I'm like, no, we gotta change, pivot. So
Nice. Love that. And so let's flip this on its head. What have you done that's worked well? And like, how have you seen impacts that you've made, and what impact have you made?
Okay, so this is a great question, because 5 years ago, when I joined the company that I'm in now, literally 5 weeks later, COVID hit. That's where you panic, right? And you think, great, last one in, first one out. How am I going to prove I'm worth keeping around? That is literally what happened. And so, because of my experience at boarding school from the age of 13, we have a lot of young peeps in our community, and I was really concerned about them being homesick because, you know, some of them were based in not that far away from our region. It's easy for them to come and go all the time, and I was really paranoid about a lot of them won't really know how to cope with that. And then I was also, I knew how important it was because I'd had a lot of experience in a previous job into internal comms and how important it was to communicate with people and tell them what we knew. So those were the two things that I was like really concerned about. I was like, we must communicate with people. So we're going to send a weekly little message. The leaders are going to get together every day to keep their fingers on the pulse. And we're going to get people together to feel like we're in this together, rather than everyone sort of being, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm isolated. I'm not in the know. This is a really scary time, because it was scary when you think about it now, like 5 years ago. So I did that just for one agency, and I was doing daily engagement activities. We were doing regular, you know, typical Zoom workouts. People could join. I was quiz master for 100 quizzes, whatever it was to make. We were doing pet day, you know, that you could then post your colleague on because that's who you're hanging out with every single day, or whatever it might have been. So fun, magical, memorable. I don't know if that was maybe where it was born, but in a moment where I was under pressure and thinking, how am I going to add value? This is what came out. And from that was then recognized to then say, hey, what you're doing is really cool. Can you do that for the whole region? And I was like, you bet I can, because I had done health and safety and culture before, and communications to some extent, that I knew that I could do that, and I could see the gaps in the business, that I was like, I know what I can do. And I know that I can make an impact, basically. And that's basically the journey that I've been working on to work towards the goal of being the best place to work.
I love that. That's such a great example. Such a great example. I'm curious to know, how is that, obviously the pandemic, unfortunately, has kind of come and gone. We're back in the workplace. Some people are obviously still working remotely. And I know your company is split across different regions as well. So how have you maintained it when we've kind of gone back to this new reality?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. And I said earlier, I don't think anybody's doing it well. I still think we're figuring out the right thing. You know, and this is again through the different generations of people want to be in the office and they want to be here and present and connecting with their teams. And then there's other people that I really want to be flexible, and I really want to enjoy that balance, that work-life balance, which is great. And I totally see both sides. There's been some aspects which has been really easy, in the sense that from a market perspective, in all the markets that we're in, some of our markets or our employees have been getting things much like it's been easier for them to celebrate together or get together more often, versus maybe some of the markets that don't have anybody on the ground to really help drive that. And so there's been this clear difference between if you're in that market or this market, because of who's actually based in the market. So one of the things that I first initiated when I got into this was to create culture hero committees in each market, so that we would connect with them, and anything we were driving in UAE, we would then do in all of the markets, so that everybody felt the love, and it wasn't just one market. And then that would get through, and we would know, oh, UAE got this again and we got nothing. You know, it's been that idea of almost standardizing the love in the workplace, I guess, or that engagement or the culture, and really making sure that everybody's feeling it, which has been great, because now that brand identity of the company is really felt. The difference is that there's lots of sub-entities underneath it, that now those specific identities aren't as strong as what they used to be. So now I'm having to lean back a little bit and push those forward. But those committees have been something that I've been able to rely on, because they're also the way that we can then have that two-way communication with the business, and that they know that I'm here to listen, because I know that I don't know everything, and they have someone to talk to, that then I'm like, okay, that's cool, I'll take that and see what we can do with it. And obviously it doesn't always come through, but most of the times it does actually roll. So yeah, I think it's better to do as many versus one. What do they say? Many hands make light work. So
love that. It's such a yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a bit today, haven't we, Charlotte? Just this, like, okay, backwards and forwards is actually the way to create change. And one of the things that I really heard you mention there, Hannah, which I love, is change takes time, and communication is actually key in change. So if you're creating, like, actually, whenever we do any of our program overviews, there's a big section which says communication. And it took me a while to sort of figure that out, but actually that's what it is, isn't it? It's a comms plan as much as anything else.
Hugely. Yeah. I think that's the change management aspect of it, though, right? Is to be like, hey, change is coming. And then it's a case of, okay, the change is happening right now. Okay, change happened, and this is what happened. And I think through the whole thing, whatever we're doing, communication is really important. And when I started doing the role that I'm currently in, we didn't really have a communications team that was set up, and that's massively missed out. Like, you really need to have that, because communication is so important. We now have that, which is amazing. And yeah, the communication, keeping people in the know, it makes them feel like they belong. And that's the aspect that really is important within the communication aspect, because as soon as you say nothing, you're immediately isolating people, even though there's nothing to say. So even when there's nothing to say, it's telling people there's nothing to say. You're in the know, you're up to date. And that's as simple as it is.
It's shocking how many organizations have and have invested in some actually really good resources. It's just nobody knows that they're there. One of the best campaigns we've done within an organization, which the goal was to embed a wellbeing culture through employee wellness. So it was specific to this one. It was specific around mental health, and we used internal comms as the platform. That was the platform. People didn't have time to go and do these different activations, this kind of thing. So there was one big panel. It had the C-suite team and a couple of kind of like champions within the organization that really supported the wellbeing projects. And they hosted this one event which everybody was invited to, didn't have to come, wasn't mandatory. The whole thing was filmed and shot using media, leveraging it to then bring that down into everybody's inboxes, basically, across multiple different platforms in many different ways. And it was an internal thing. This wasn't so that they could post on LinkedIn, say we're an amazing organization. It was internal. It was for the people, by the people. And it was really, really powerful, because the communication was non-stop. When we had the first conversation about this campaign, they said, well, we're allocated one email every 2 weeks to talk about well-being. I'm like, okay, well, that's probably going to need to be accelerated just a little bit for this 12-week campaign. That was all it was initially, and it got extended after that with all sorts of different topics. And as soon as they started to increase the frequency and they released some of these restrictions that had no kind of sense behind them, they weren't specific well-being updates, they were integrated into the business communication, so it was all coming from the same voice and the same centerpiece, and it was so good. And I swear it was the internal communication, that was what it centered around, and it was absolutely brilliant. So I can't echo that more, and I don't think it's enough.
I agree. I think how can you say what our culture is if you're not communicating to your people? Like, the way we do things is what you should be talking about. And if well-being is something that we prioritize, you should be talking about it. And yeah, I agree. Lots of resources out there that people don't know about. And I think also in this time that we're in, there's almost too much, like it's an information overload. Where do you look now? You know, there's so many different platforms. There's so many, you get however many emails a day. There's only so much you can cope with. So again, I think that also provides a massive challenge to the well-being. And then how are you then recovering after that, and then really adding in the well-being of so yeah, internal comms is important, and how they communicate, and the platforms that are used, and all of that jazz definitely feeds into everything.
I read a brilliant little, well, I thought it was a brilliant little passage this morning from Oliver Burkeman's book, Meditations for Mortals. Don't think of the information overload as a bucket. Think of it as a river from which you get to choose when you go, oh, I'm interested in that. And so, because we all have a pile of books that we're going to get through by the end of the month, / maybe year. So just rather than letting it be overwhelming and go, oh, that's come past me. Like, what did you say before? If it's meant for you, it won't pass you. It's like, oh, I'm interested in that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, nice. Okay, so Hannah, we're interested. What's your well-being habit in the workplace that's for the bin?
For the bin, I'm going to say the tick box exercises. I think that's pretty known though now. I think in the beginning it was really exciting and people really loved it. And then now it's kind of like, yeah, but they're not working and we're not getting the attendance. So can we just accept that that needs to be sacked off? It's difficult though, because when I say that, we do them, but we do them in a version of a community. So you opt into it. You don't have to, and it's a community that you choose to be a part of, and that's the way that I think it should be done. But that's also because that's the way that we're doing it. But I feel like that's going to give you the sense of belonging and a community that you feel a part of, versus, yes, we're doing yoga, so come and do it with me. So yeah, that's probably what I would say. And the other thing actually to put in the bin is, this is a bit, is I really didn't like this when someone said it to me initially, and I was like, what? I don't understand. Why would you not want to say that we're a family?
Yes.
And now I understand. I'm like, yeah, we can't say that in the office. It's just not the right thing to say. We're not a family. The family dynamics do not work in the office. You do not have a work mum and a work dad. If you do, we have a problem.
Yeah.
So that phrase, we're a family, we run like a family, we work together like a family, that needs to be put in the bin.
And a lot of it is dysfunctional as well, right? The opening.
Yeah. You don't get fired from your family. I've messed that up actually. So I did use that, and it didn't work, right? And because you're right, like, and if systemically speaking, your family is the only system you will never leave.
Yeah.
You always leave a job, regardless. So at some point you will stop doing even if it's your business, you will stop doing that. But you leave your family. So it's different.
I think because for me, I'm very fortunate. I've got two loving parents and a loving brother. We're very close. And so I love the idea of bringing the family dynamic into the workplace, because I was like, yes, I've got so much love to give and I want to give it to everybody. And then, when you really think about it, not everybody has that family dynamic, and their family dynamic actually can really not be something that they want to replicate in the workplace. And having now educated and understood that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's really not the right phrase to use. And I'm now definitely like, we need to put that in the bin. So it's in the bin.
What about the win then? What's for the win?
I think communicating about well-being is the biggest win that we could honestly go with. Like I said, all the different generations, the fact that things are changing, there's becoming more remote hybrid workplace, change is coming. So the fact that we're talking about it is a win. And with communication comes so many things. So communicating what your boundaries are, communicating what your aspirations are, communicating what works for you. We've recently done a session at work about the love languages. So how you like to be recognized, how that brings, love in the appropriate way into the workplace, which I totally think you can. So yeah, I think communication in all its forms, talking about things, is important. And then on the other end is being able to listen. So listen to understand, be curious, ask questions. I'm not very good at that. I think I probably need to do that more. But certainly one of my colleagues, she has always said, be curious, ask more, ask to understand, and find out why. And I'm like, yeah, that's really great. I need to definitely work on that and do more of that. But I'm aware of it now, so I know it's something that I need to do. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, seek to understand before you seek to be understood.
Yeah.
Right.
2 ears, 1 mouth. Like
it's such an important part of communication, right? And nobody thinks of it that way. They think communication is speaking. It's not. Well, it is part of it, but it's not just that, is it?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us your time today and sharing your experience with us. We absolutely love you being on the show, but we love you being part of our community as well. We haven't mentioned Sam, but Hannah's obviously one of our ambassadors for the Wellbeing Leaders community as well. So she's sharing her knowledge and wisdom and expertise over there as well. And it's a fun ride, isn't it?
It sure is. It's all about the journey and who you spend it with. Yes.
Magical, mystical.
Magical, fun, and memorable.
Memorable, that's it, not mystical.
Mystical works, so I'll take it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Hannah, thank you very much again. And if you are enjoying the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your colleagues. And if you're interested in learning more about the Wellbeing Leaders community, please check us out on wellbeingleaders.me. Thank you again, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.